Well, hi YouTubers. Okay, now the figures for 100 books, and this one I say one of the best for last. Wolf by Wolf by Graudin. Never read any of her work before, but she is an amazing author. Now read the book on the back. Now I got the original in a limited grade, but I didn't want to read that because it's first edition. So I got this from the library because in a later limited grade I got the sequel, Blood by Blood. But I haven't read this one yet. That's all next on the list. But read the blurb, okay? Once upon a different time, there was a girl who lived in a kingdom of death. Wolves howled up her arm, a whole pack of them, made of tattoo, ink and pain, memory and loss. It was the only thing about her that ever stayed the same. Germany 1956, over 10 years since the Nazis won the war. 70-year-old Yao is part of the resistance and she has only one mission: to kill Hitler. But first she has to get close enough to him to do it. Yes! So, speculative fiction, if the Nazis won the war. Now, this has been done many, many times in other fictions. You have The Man in the High Castle, SSGB, Fatherland. Now, I always thought this was... The whole idea of the Nazis winning is always really, really interesting to tackle. Because every single author, and Ryan herself is included in this, writes grey. Writes grey. Now, grey means from a certain perspective, a certain angle, if you will. If Hitler would have won, then it would have been a total dystopia, and you know the Reich taken over the globe, and yeah, and essentially, you know, the fatherland, Hitler. That's exactly how it would have been, okay. And that is exactly how it would have been. It would have been greyer. The world would have been a lot greyer if Hitler won, and mercifully he didn't. So, speculative fiction is always very interesting from the angle that you take it. This book is really good. Now, Yao, as a very, very young child, she was experimented on in a concentration camp, and she was given the ability by the shapeshift. She can physically change her form into another one, which is how at a very, very young age, by the age of like 5 or 6, she actually escaped the camp. That is very, very brilliantly done. It's weird because you see in the Holocaust, if you will, from a point of view of a child, and the reactions of her family, it is absolutely heartbreaking because she is being experimented on, but she's still a very, very young girl. Then she gets caught up within the resistance, and one thing I loved, and I love this, is that all their planning is done in beer halls. Now, beer halls and Hitler kind of really, really come together quite nicely, because I like the fact, because in Munich, and I've actually visited the Munich beer halls, which are now like tourist attractions. That is where Hitler kind of got his first kind of taste of power. He used to stand up at these beer halls and speak to the working classes and kind of gain influence and power. So I like the kind of contemporary twist of the fact that this is how they're also planning their resistance. Is that pretty much the same location? Brilliantly done. It just made me smile, okay? So the plot is Yao has to change her face into Adele, okay? Adele Wolf, who the year before won like this race across the Rhineland, which encompasses obviously Germany, and then Egypt, and then Japan, and so, but to do it, she has to kidnap Adele Wolf, okay, change her face, and then enter the race in her place, okay. Now, Adele Wolf, who you only meet briefly, but you kind of get to know her as the text goes along, is very, very interesting, because she is a character who Yao is pretending to be, and yet as we get to know Adele, I want to know more about Adele. Adele seems to be frustrated at the situation. She is very aware of her sexual kind of like prowess. She is kind of manipulative, a little bit ruthless, but yet she knows her place within the great scheme of things. She knows that she'll basically be sent into a Nazi breeding, be a Nazi breeder, if you will, which is truth and fiction. And yeah, so she knows her place in the scheme, and you kind of get her frustration. I reckon there's more to Adele than meets that we've met so far, and I can't wait to meet Adele very soon. And then along for the ride, if you will, is Adele's brother, her actual brother. So Yao has to keep up the pretense of being Adele Wolf in front of her own brother. Oh my god, yeah. So this is a book of twists and turns and frustrations, because this is a young woman going against the system. This is a young woman kind of trying to figure out who she is, but pretend to be someone else. She's taken on Adele's life, and also Adele's loves. Another issue, okay? Because she was taught how to be an assassin, but she wasn't taught. There's so much you can fake, if you will. So, the way Ryan describes the locations as well, they are very, very familiar. The thing is with this is making this familiar as well, that you don't need that much exposition. You have to take it for granted, and it's absolutely fascinating. Now this is let me read this bit out, okay? Here we are. One piece of paper in particular always drew Yao's eye. The operations map that took up the far wall. The whole of Europe was stained in red. A crimson tide rolled over the Ural Mountains, bleeding into Asia. Scarlet spilled through the Mediterranean Sea and dipped into the crown of Africa. Red, the colour of battle wounds and the Third Reich. Bitter, bright death. Whenever Yao studied the map, she couldn't help but be amazed at the scale of Hitler's victory. According to stories, when a few first announced his vision of an occupied African Europe to his generals, some of them had laughed. Impossible, they said. It can't be done. But the word impossible held no sway over a man like Hitler. He sent his armies marched across Europe anyway. His ruthless SS troops ignored all civilized rules of war, mowing down soldiers and civilians alike. Incredible. This is chapter 3. And this jumps really, really nicely back in time between Den, okay, Den being like the 1930s with Yao in the camp, to now. And you can kind of see the tattoos on her arm, who they represent, who she represents. And it is an incredible, incredible book. I was blown away by this. Now the ending, no spoilers again, but let's just say the final, let's say the final few chapters was, oh my good god. Now I read this on the tube, okay, so, but this is an astonishing book, and this deserves to be a film. But someone who's never really known anything about the Holocaust, or you know, the Axis, if you will, during the Second World War. This is a really, really good introduction, and will hopefully encourage more. The one thing I like is this. Now there actually is, okay, for discussion. So let's discuss, okay. It's not what the question's going to read out. I'm just going to do it. How much did you know? Question. How much did you know about the concentration camps and Nazi experimentation before you read this book? Quite a bit. I've been to several camps. I've been to Auschwitz. So yeah, Auschwitz is terrible. There's Nibber's land in Auschwitz at all. Auschwitz is a special kind of silence. It's like the ground mourns. So I've been to a couple of concentration camps in Belgium and Germany, and yeah, it's an interesting experience. And even though it's tragic, I do actually recommend you go, because it kind of puts shit into perspective. Another question. Do you have a tattoo? Has your opinion of them changed since reading Wolf by Wolf? I have 3 tattoos, and my opinion of them hasn't changed. I think that I love my tattoos. They're personal to me, the same way they're personal to Yao. Who are your wolves? Wolves meaning your family. My family. So there you go. Why do you think you never hear Yao's surname? Biblical aspects, actually. There's a biblical connection to Yao, and I'm going to put links to this. It's right into the Book of Judges, okay, and Zhao, okay, and I'll put that in the links. There's a Wikipedia page. By not giving her a surname, it kind of gives her, she's like a ghost. She is a representation of the 11 million who died in camps. Yeah. Do you think the world has moved on since the events Yao witnessed in Wolf by Wolf? Yes, it has. Yes, mercifully it has. Question. Are you the kind of person who would join a resistance movement? Yes, and then I'll probably be killed on my first mission because I'm clumsy. Wolf by Wolf takes a real historical event and changes the outcome. Alternative history. Have you read any other books in this genre? Man in the High Castle. A couple of books about speculative fiction. Fatherland. The colour red is important in this novel. Discuss the way the author uses it and what impact it had. Well, red is the colour of the Axis victories. There's red on the Nazi flag. Red is the colour passion and danger, things that Science Saint do not enter. Red is one of my favourite colours, obviously the red, and best goes red, and I absolutely love red. It's a colour passion and danger and energy and fury, so yeah. How do you feel about the fantastic element of this book, the skin shifting? Absolutely incredible, and the way it's done is brilliant. Is this a love story? No. Well, yes and no, but I'll leave that to the reader to think about. Have you ever ridden a motorbike? If you haven't, do you want to know you've read the book? If you have, how do you feel about the descriptions of riding the Access Tour? Brilliant. Discuss journey wolf by wolf. Journey to figure out her identity under Adele's skin. One thing this also does as well, it kind of takes like mythology and does it quite well. It kind of brings in other mythologies. It brings in the Valkyries, which historically, like obviously the Valkyries and the Norse gods, it brings them in quite strong. In her mind, Yao is a Valkyrie. She is a woman going through the motions to kind of like destroy the Axis power. And once again, the biblical judges and Zhao. So it's kind of bringing in these two elements into basically one sort of character. And the beauty of a character, Yao, is that we don't really know her yet. And that's the thing, there's characters who we're kind of skimming the surface. If you can shapeshift, okay, and you've shapeshifted so many times, but this happened to you at such a young age, who is the real Yao under all that? That's very, very interesting. Now, the final few chapters, I don't want to spoil, but they'll be edge of your seat. I've devoured this book, and now I cannot wait to read Blood for Blood, okay? Now, no spoilers for this, but I really, really do recommend these books. Ryan Graudin is a fantastic author, and I think that these books need to become a film as soon as possible. So, son of your YouTubers, part of Physics 5 100 books. Mwah. Bye now.